Do you ever feel like you're talking to a brick wall? That no matter how clearly or loudly you speak, they're just not getting you?
Here's the hard truth. Sometimes the reason why they are not listening is not about them. It's about how you are speaking to them.
When you're speaking, if you're rushing, blaming, or overwhelming them, you're actually training them to tune you out.
And so today's episode, we're talking about the 4 different ways that you are sabotaging your own voice.
So grab a pen and let's begin.
Hello.
Hey, babe. What I love about this topic is we're actually talking about the sender, not the receiver.
Yes.
And so typically in communication, we focus so much on the person receiving the message, and we don't pull back enough to actually look at the whole system of communication, and that there's 2 parts.
We think that if the other person just cared enough, they would listen better. And we think that the problem is them. But when we are speaking, we have to be aware that communication has 2 parts to it: the sender and the receiver. So when you think about sending or communication like a transmitter of a radio signal, for the music, if the send is unclear or fuzzy, or if the noise is pitched too high, if it's going too fast, then the receiver just gets noise. So the first area that we see this in is the intention for the communication to happen in the first place. So this is before words start flying. What is your intention for this conversation?
Right. What is it that you want as an outcome, right, from this conversation? Are you coming in because you want to punish and berate them and make them feel small and demonstrate your dominance in the household?
Then that's how the conversation will flow, from that energy.
Or is it because you have a need that you would like to be seen, heard, and understood, and ideally met?
Mm-hmm. So, for example, front entranceway has a close.
I say, oh yes, only because I think we've had this conversation.
We have
where
front entranceway. I don't hang the coats up. Shoes are all over the place, and so the entranceway is like, it's crowded, right? It's messy for us or anyone that shows up the front door. So a messy front entranceway. Go.
So I could go in with the intention of, oh, I'm so frustrated again. He doesn't listen. He doesn't get it. What's wrong with him? I've had enough. This has to end now. And if I bring that intention into the communication, you bet it's going to start off very sharp, fast, punishing, and guaranteed it's going to put Jeff on the defensive.
As opposed to?
Okay, I'm upset about this. So what does that mean? I need this to be clear. I want when people come into our house, at least the entranceway is inviting and there's not a lot of clutter, because it helps my insides feel clear. And I want us to have a happy, healthy home.
That's clear. Even just by saying, like, I have a need to express my point of view, how the pain or frustration I feel in my body, I want to express that to the other person, while making sure that we are still a team. That's a great intention. And, John and Julie Gottman of the Gottman Institute, they speak about how a conversation starts, usually is a big indicator of how a conversation is going to end. So those first few seconds, even before words start going, those first few seconds to just check in, why am I having this conversation? It's to be mindful before flying.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that.
So let's talk about the second piece, which flows right out of your intention, which is the energy that you're bringing to the conversation. So if you're worked up, all hot and bothered and furious, that is not the time to be having a conversation about house logistics, because it's just going to cause the other person's nervous system to just get activated, and then they go into fight or flight, and that's when their ears shut down. So it doesn't matter what you do, they're not listening.
So if I come into a conversation hot and I say something like this to Jeff, I just want you to get how I feel. You can see that it's going to be pretty hard for him to actually take me in, because I'm coming in like a tornado. I just want you to get how I feel.
So then that begs the question, why do we speak this way? Why do we come in all hot and bothered? And the reason is it's too late. We have the desire to speak our mind, and we have shut ourselves down, and we let it build and build and build over time, resentment energy, temperature starts rising, and then it comes out like a tornado or a volcano. It's just like
It erupts.
blah.
Right. When you're coming in all hot, if you're all worked up and triggered, that is not the time then to engage in the conversation if you want the other person to actually take in what you're sending out.
Check your energy. Is my energy inviting? Will I get the listening that I really want, or am I just going to blow them away?
So the solution is to take a pause, take a time out, take a breath to regulate your energy so that when you come back into the conversation, you bring energy that doesn't put the other person's nervous system on the defensive. And something else you may want to do that can help is to actually book an appointment and actually set up the conversation. Going back to intention, and you set that up, then you both know what you're coming into. You haven't taken the other person off guard. Because sometimes just by coming in, and you could be doing the dishes, and if I come in, I'm like, I'm pissed at you. You're not ready, you're startled. And then I put your nervous system into a startled state, not a listening state.
Yeah, and you're not ready to have the conversation. You're not regulated and calm. You're fired up and wanting to have the conversation right now. And so pausing, maybe even booking an appointment in 5 minutes to talk about it will help you get the listening that you want.
Yeah. The third area is pacing. If we overwhelm the person with too much information too fast, they just cannot take it in. It's like eating. You can have a lot of great stuff to eat, but you can't just wolf it all down.
It's one bite at a time, yeah.
And especially if you want them to actually know what they're eating, right?
Yeah.
So when we're delivering information to another person, they can only take in information so fast. Because it's one thing to hear the bits of information. It's another thing to digest that information and understand what that really means.
So if you want the other person to really get you, you have to work in the opposite direction. Your heart rate might be fast, your breathing might be fast, your thoughts might be fast, but purposely you have to slow your pace down so that the other person can get and keep up with you in the conversation. And so that's why it's always a good idea just to give short bursts of information and check in. Like, hey, I have this one sentence, this second sentence. Does that make sense so far?
And then I get to say, I think so. Can you repeat that again? I'm not certain what you said.
And then I'll repeat the things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Okay, now you can go on.
And then I move on to the next content. When we want to cram it all into 5 seconds, more words in that moment is not more helpful. It's actually less helpful because the other person's nervous system just gets overloaded and shut down. And that's why you'll get the withdrawal or the blocking from the other person.
Eyes.
Because they can't take you in. It's too much too fast. So slow down, go slow so that they can hear you and you can get the understanding that you're looking for.
And that also means if time doesn't permit for you to go at a slower pace, then maybe hold off on that conversation and then schedule that time and find a time where you know you do have the time and space that you need. Set yourself up for the win.
Yeah, not 5 minutes before bedtime. And the fourth section is being clear. Clear in what is it that you're talking about. Sometimes people can just throw a whole bunch of kitchen sinking here. So it's, we're talking about the front entranceway, but we're also talking about the taxes. We're talking about your in-laws, and then something that I did in 2018. And then we're actually, what is the conversation about? We don't even know where we're going.
Right. So then the sender, you muddle actually the conversation and you make it almost impossible for them to follow you, but then you get mad at them that they're not getting you. And so you're setting both of you up for frustration. And it's not that your partner doesn't necessarily want to get you, it's that they can't. There's just too much to follow, and it's not a clear roadmap.
One conversation, one topic. Next topic for another conversation.
And then on the topic of clarity, it's also being clear about what is it that you really want them to understand. Given the example of the front door, if I'm yelling at you, you're so messy, you never pick up, and I've told you this a million times, then it would seem what I want him to get is that he's an idiot. I think he's a slob, and he's a problematic human being, which is really not what I want to get. However, I might choose to put the blame on him rather than have to open up to my own vulnerability. Because what I'd really want to say, and what will open him up to hear me, is if I actually said, when the front door is messy, I feel unimportant, and I feel like my needs come second. And I don't have equal voice in this house.
That is the invitation. The first one is just blame and criticism. I'm not listening to the blame and criticism, but I'll listen to what's going on for you. And what's really clear about that is that you're talking about you, your perspective,
my experience,
your feelings. You're not the narrator for us, because I have my perspective, I have my feelings, my story, and we can get to that later. But right now, as the sender, you're just speaking about your experience in the situation.
Being heard actually has a lot to do with how we send out our message. It's quite empowering to know that we actually can significantly influence how we get heard, that we have the power within our own lap to create better communication that we enjoy being part of.
And when we take responsibility for that, then we're taking ownership for our half in the communication cycle. That's empowering for you in communication, but also empowering for you to do something to change your relationships.
So if you like this video, consider subscribing to our channel. If you know anyone who can use this information, please forward it to them, and watch this next video.
Thanks for watching.